I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time trying to tell you who I am because I know everybody in this room, and as you know, I'm on the Board of Supervisors. I decided that I wanted to run for the 5th District Congressional nomination, which will be coming up on June the 8th. And I want to do that because what I want to do is take the skills that I've been able to hone in on the Board of Supervisors in Albemarle County, fighting against liberals, and I spent a lot of time fighting against liberals as a minority. And now I'm learning how to legislate as the majority. And as you might have noticed at the beginning of this year, we sort of sent a salvo out with our action plan that's called for economic development, smaller government, less spending in government. And we're moving forward on that plan too. We've got some exciting things that you'll be seeing come up that we'll have. I want to take that same type of knowledge and background to Washington, D.C. And I think there's a couple of things. I mentioned this at breakfast, and some of you were there this morning, that people are saying, hey, do you have the fire in the belly to do this again? And I guess because maybe I'm not a fire and brimstone speaker all the time, but I liken myself a little bit to Reagan. If you ever think, Reagan was never really hollering and fire and brimstone speaker. He just quietly got things done. And that's what I've been able to do on the Board of Supervisors. A lot of times we were playing defense, because the best I could do was keep the taxes down and not going up as much as possible, to fight off people like Mr. Slutsky and Mrs. Thomas, who always wanted to raise taxes and spend as much as they could. And so I understood I learned over 10 years how to do that. Now, 11 this year is quite a different thing. We were able to work very hard to get conservatives elected to the board. We solicited these people and helped them win the election. And that's what we're going to have to do in Washington. Because I know a lot of my opponents for the 5th District, they're out there saying they're going to go to Washington and change things in 2 years and then go back home and live on my farm. Well, I don't want to insult people's intelligence by saying we can do that. I wish we could do that. I really do. But even if we have a large majority and we take back the House, it's doubtful we get the Senate, but we may, then it's still a lot of work to undo and unravel all of these things they put together. I mean, the health care bill, who knows what all is there and how you're going to have to unravel it. Obviously, we could defund it, and that would be the first thing to do. Actually, I'm in Ken Cuccinelli's camp. I want to see Ken Cuccinelli get it deemed unconstitutional so we don't even have to deal with it in Congress. And I think that's our best approach at this point, is to do that. But cap and trade is coming, and I think you're going to push that through and get it done. I'm really scared that they're going to push through amnesty. That's going to be the next thing that they do. We saw what happened back in the 80s with the amnesty program. We can't, that's not the solution to the illegal immigrant problem that we have. These are all issues that I want to work with when we go to Washington. But it all starts with the budget, because you've got to understand how this budget works in order to know where to look, where the bureaucrats hide the money. And I'll give you just one example of how we've been able to do that on the Board of Supervisors. For many years, I was not able to be put on the CIP committee, which is our capital improvement plan. As you know, that group spends millions of dollars every year. But for the last 2 years, I was put on that, and we cut that by $200 million in 2 years. Now, that's a 5-year plan. That's not all in 1 year. But we reduced it. And the reason we reduced it, because when I started looking at the numbers, my background is finance, I understood that it wasn't sustainable. We could have borrowed that money. We're a AAA-rated county. And we've got an excellent bond rating. In fact, Tom Perriello, he came down and he said, we'll get you some loans so that you can build the library out in Crozet that you wanted to build. Well, my immediate response to him was, it's not a matter of getting the loans, Tom. We can do that. We don't need a federal government to do that. We can get the loans. We can't pay them back. Not without greatly increasing the taxes. And I wasn't willing to do that in the recession that we're in now. So I want to just kind of leave it at that, just to talk about me. And I want to open up for some questions, because I know you all might have some things that you want to know about, how I feel. Yes.
And where do you stand on the fair tax, Congressman? Whether
I am greatly behind the fair tax. I think that what we've got to do is we've got to get it on the floor of the House so it can be debated. I think we've got to look at the fair tax and the flat tax, decide on what's the best thing for the American people. I really am leaning more towards the fair tax because I think that will stimulate the economy. That's the biggest thing, and help us in the international economy as well. It scares me to death that we're going to talk about adding it. Bob's shaking his head that that's not going to happen. That's debatable. The thing that bothers me is now they're starting to talk about a value-added tax. And
They don't even want that.
That's piling on. Is what that is.
That's when $45 becomes $145.
That's right.
so you don't support any kind of amnesty either for the illegal aliens? Thank you.
I don't think that's the answer to it.
Right.
Well, Senator Hurt actually has won elections down in the southern part of the district. But the difference between he and I is he's in a heavily Republican district. He really is. It's kind of like the uphill battle you have here in the city of Charlottesville trying to defeat the Democrats, because they're such a heavily Democratic district. And Robert will sit there and say that he wins his elections by 60 to 70%, and that's true. It's true. But we've got to pull the votes from up here. You know, Virgil Good had a plan to where he wanted to get 25% of the vote from the Albemarle, Charlottesville area, and that's what he felt would put him over the top. He got 22%. So for the sake of 3%, that's what really lost that rate. So I think that I can bring the votes in from Albemarle County at least, and I think I'll even get some from Charlottesville. I've actually been approached by some Democrats from Charlottesville who are excited about me getting the nomination and running, because they're not real happy with what Tom Perriello is doing. If you look at Tom's record and what he's been doing, they're certainly not 5th District principals, even for a lot of Democrats in the area. So that's what we're trying to count on. We're going to concentrate on the whole district. We are building, I want to talk about the button I've got on here. This is an idea that was developed by Pat Earle and Joe Vigilone and Alan Collier. And what they wanted to do is they started a grassroots organization just in the last couple of weeks. Well, we've probably had 60, 70 people sign up for that now. And this group, now we've gone down to, there's a gentleman down in Nelson County who's going to set up a boy brigade in Nelson County. We've got someone in Halifax setting up a boy brigade down there. We've got one person down in Franklin County that's going to set it up. But what we're going to do is we're going to bring together the grassroots people that we need to win this race. Because people out there want change. They really want to change. And I don't think they want another career politician to go to Washington. And I'm not put in that category. Even though I've been in local office for 10 years, I've been here at the grassroots level. I've spent the first half of my life raising my children and my family, and that's what I wanted to do. I didn't go to prep school, law school, straight into the legislature, then over to Congress and become a professional politician. That's not what I wanted to do. But I do have some knowledge, I do have some skills, and I want to take that to D.C. and balance practice over there and bring some common sense to the governance of this country. Well, I'll tell you my approach to that, what it's going to be. My elections, the two that I was heavily contested, I won 53-47 in one and 52-48 in the other. And I did it with sticking to my principles and saying what I meant and doing what I said. I was, when I was elected, I didn't go back on the kinds of things. The first year that I ran for Board of Supervisors, I was bombarded by the Democrats because I had voted against 3 of the 4 school budgets when I was on the school board. But I didn't vote against them because I thought that they weren't spending enough money in the classrooms. Actually, I did vote against them because they weren't spending enough money in the classrooms. They were building administration, and they were unbalanced budgets. That was the key to me. I've got to have a balanced budget. I'm not going to plan on spending more than what we take in. If we could take that message to Washington, that would be a great thing. Perriello has got to jump on us because we're out here fighting for a nomination process in a primary. He's raising a lot of money. We'll raise the money after June 8th. We'll raise it and we'll beat him. It's kind of interesting. I don't know how many people actually realize, but Obama did not win the 5th district. He didn't win the 5th district. Perriello did, but Obama didn't. So this is a good conservative district. It's a Republican-leaning district, and I think, as Bob said, it was a landslide. And it was, there were people in here from New York and Chicago and everywhere else working to get out the vote. You won't see that in this year. In an off-year election, you won't see that kind of volume.
They wanted to get Virgil to do that. He was one of the people.
That's right. He was targeted. But same token, the Republicans, national Republicans, have targeted Perriello this year. I think we're going to take advantage of this tremendous groundswell of grassroots people out there, including the Tea Party. I think the Tea Party is one of the greatest things that's happened to this country in a long time. And I think those people, they're mad, and they want to see change, and I think they'll get behind whoever the Republican candidate is. I certainly hope they do. I don't think that there's going to be any independent candidates running. So I think they'll get behind the conservative candidate. I think I can demonstrate to them that I'm the kind of person that they want, and that'll be a tremendous benefit to all. We 6 of the 7 candidates preferred a convention. We were very vocal about the fact that we preferred a convention. The unit chairs, the majority of unit chairs didn't. It was their decision. So we've moved on. We're now going to run in the primary. There is a silver lining in the fact that we have a primary. We do have the opportunity to hone in our skills and our campaigning skills, and it gives the people to see a chance. It gives the constituents a chance to see how we handle ourselves in those two. Because Tom Perriello is not going to be an easy person to debate, believe me. He is a very sharp young man, and he talks a lot. I'm not sure I ever understand what he's saying, but he does talk a lot, and he has big answers to questions.
He answers both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, he makes it sound as if he's a moderate, and he never puts that.
Well, I want to thank you all for giving me a few minutes to speak.